This lesson is going to be used for fraction reminders to remind you of all the skills that we may have learned in 3rd and 4th grade that we will now be using again in 5th grade. Simplest form is when the fraction has nothing in common between the numerator and the denominator, meaning it's in its simplest form, its easiest way to think about it. There's a few ways to remember if a number is in simplest form. First of all, an easy way is if the 1 is in the numerator. Another way to remember is if there's one number difference between the numerator and the denominator. 2 and 3 have just one number separating them, so that would be simplest form. 5/6 would be simplest form. 7/8 would be simplest form. Probably the hardest way to figure out if a number is in simplest form is with this one. So we have to think about, do 5 and 7 have in common? So I suggest that you think about their factors. The factors of 5 are 5 and 1. The factors of 7 are only 7 and 1. If 1 is the only number they have in common, then again, that number is in simplest form. Let's do one together, putting it in simplest form. I know that 18 and 24 have something in common because they're both even numbers. They both could have 2 in common, but I'm wondering if there's something else I could divide by to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to list the factors, and I like to do that by listing them, putting them in parentheses, and putting them in order. So I have 1 and 18, I have 2 and 9, and I have 3 and 6. 4 won't work, 5 won't work, so I know I'm done. For 24, I'm going to start with 1 and 24, and I've done 24 so many times I know it by heart. 2 and 12, I think you guys remember from last year doing this. 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So now I want to see what they have in common. So 18, neither of them have that. 9, neither of them have that. But 6 they have in common, and 2 they have in common. So you want to go with the one that's the biggest that they have in common, which is 6. So now I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 6, and I'm going to get 3/4. And now I know that's in simplest form. I make sure I think about that before I say that's my final answer, because there's only one number separating these two. So 4 and 3 only are separated by 1, so that is in simplest form. Now try one on your own. Pause the video to try it on your own, then listen to my description. When I look at 25 and 45, I know because they have this 5 here that they're going to have 5 in common. So I'm willing to bet that's going to put it in the simplest form. So I'm going to divide them both by 5, both the numerator and get 5, and the denominator and get 9. Now, there's a larger difference between 5 and 9, so I'm going to think about it. What are the factors of 5? They're 1 and 5. What are the factors of 9? I have 1, 3, and 5. Or 9, I'm sorry. Whew. But they have nothing in common at all, so 5/9 is in simplest form. An improper fraction is when there's a larger number in the numerator than in the denominator. This number is improper, and we need to put it into a mixed number to make it proper. So the best way to do this is by dividing. So I'm going to put my numerator as my dividend and my 9, my denominator, as my divisor. When I do that, you guys should be familiar with this part. My remainder becomes my numerator, and my divisor remains as the denominator, so then I have 1 and 4/9. Now you want to also think, is that in simplest form? And it is. They have nothing in common but 1, so my number 1 and 4/9, it's the same thing as 13/9, but now it is in a mixed number that is proper to understand. Now try one on your own. Pause the video to try it on your own and then listen to my description. I know this is an improper fraction because my numerator is too large. It's larger than my denominator, so now I'm going to divide. 20, the numerator is the dividend, and then I have my 12 as the divisor. How many 12s go into 20? That's 1. That would be my whole number. And I subtract and get 8, so now my 8 is my numerator, and my 12 is my divisor, or my 12, my divisor, is my denominator. I'm looking at that number though, and I see that 8 and 12 have something in common. They both have 2 in common, but they also have 4 in common. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 4, and I will get, and my whole number needs to stay there. Okay, I will get, oh, I don't know why that little line got there. We'll delete that there. And I will be getting 2/3. 1, don't forget that whole number, and 2/3. And there are only one number separating them, so I know that is the simplest form, 1 and 2/3. There is a rare occasion where you would have to turn a mixed number into an improper fraction. Sometimes when you're subtracting mixed numbers, it makes it easier for you to turn it into an improper fraction. So this is how to do it. I like to add little symbols here to help me. I add a multiplication sign here, and I add an addition sign there. So then I know I have to do 3 times 1 is 3, and then I add the 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. That's my numerator. And then my denominator stays the same at 3. So now I have it as a improper fraction. Let me show you that again with maybe a harder one. How about 3 and 4/5? I'm going to put my little symbols in, multiply and add. 5 times 3 is 15. I even can write a little number here. 15 plus 4 is 19. 19/5. And then if you check it, you can just check it by doing the division again, just like I just showed you how to do, and you're going to get the exact same number you started with. And there it is, 3 and 4/5. So I know I was correct when I turned it into 19/5. How about you try one on your own? Pause the video, try it on your own, and then listen to my description. I'm going to turn this into an improper fraction by multiplying and adding. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 5 is 29. 29, and then my denominator stays the same, 29/6. I need to find the least common denominator that 5 and 4 have in common, because I need to change this denominator. I cannot be adding 2 fractions that have different denominators. They must be the same. So I need to find the least common denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the multiples of 5. So let me show you how to do that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I could probably go on, but I'm running out of room, so I'm going to stay there and see if I can find one. And you want to find the least common one, so the one that happens the smallest one. So now I'm going to do it with 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. I've run out of room. Now let's see if they have any in common. No 5, no 4. I like to cross it off. No 16. Aha, there it is, 20. That's what these guys have in common. So now I'm going to erase this. You can keep it on your paper to show your work. But I now know that 20 should be my denominator. That's what they have in common. It's what's going to work. So I'm going to turn this into a 20 as the denominator and this into a 20. And then you got to think, 5 times what is 20? Well, it's 4. So I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom of a fraction, the numerator and the denominator, by 4. And I can do the same thing here. So 4 times what is 20? It's 5. And then we have 15. So now I have my denominators the same. Now I can add them. Let's try one together. I have my 2 fractions. They have a different denominator, so I have to find my least common denominator. So I'm going to start listing multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9. Oh wait, 9? 9 is already the denominator over here. So I can just keep 1/9 the same. But then I can switch 1/3 to be ninths. So 3 times what is 9? It's 3. I will do the same thing to the numerator, and now I got 3/9. 3/9 plus 1/9. Now that is something I can do because the numerator or the denominators are the same. Let's try one on our own. Pause the video and try it, then listen to my description. I'm going to write my multiples. 4, 8, 12, 16. You're going to get really good at this. Eventually you should be able to just look at it and know. Then I'm going to do my 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Okay, I've run out of room. Let's see what they have in common. I'm seeing the 12s and I'm seeing the 24s. Either one would work, but you want to go with the least common, which is the one that's the smallest. So I'm going to go with my 12ths. I'm going to turn them all into 12ths. So 6 times what is 12? That's 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. And 4 times what is 12? That's 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I have like denominators. I hope this fraction tutorial helped you to remind you of the skills we have learned in the past. And now we're going to get to adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators.